We are live again at this week's edition of Tim Talks. And I can never remember. In fact, I'm getting old, so I don't remember a lot. But an announcement that we have made, quite frankly, as a company that has received as much buzz as this announcement, our partnership with Cion has made. We've been talking about this in Clubhouse rooms. I've heard podcasts. Clubhouse rooms of 1,200 people last week that I jumped in talking about this word crypto and cryptocurrency and becoming mainstream. And we are so privileged and honored to be partnered with a very successful serial entrepreneur, the president and CEO of Cion Digital, and that is Fred Brothers. I'd like to welcome Fred to Tim Talks. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, Tim, it's great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, this is exciting stuff. You know, when we made our announcement at NADA, we made an announcement. We've had some other announcements and just exciting things that are going on here. And listen, Tim Talks has never, ever been about selling. Obviously, I've privileged to be one of the co-founders of CarNow, but it's never been about selling CarNow. It's been about, we started in March with helping dealers of 2020 because people were kind of freaking out thinking the world was going to go in. And, if we would have had a crystal ball that, two of the best years in automotive history. And we just want to bring other avenues that dealerships can make money. So when we announced our partnership with Cion to be the first platform that's going to allow consumers to use their crypto to actually buy a vehicle. So we really want to unpack that. So Automotive News picked this story up. Yahoo Finance picked this story up. I believe it was Automotive Finance News magazine interviewed both Fred and myself yesterday. My phone blowing up. Signed up a couple dealers yesterday just by saying, hey, I've had to turn dealers or customers away because we had no way of accepting crypto. So let's just dive right into it. A lot of people out there, Fred, are very skeptical. We are also, to set the stage, we are also coming off and still in 2021 was the most profitable year in dealership history. I had the privilege to be in the JD Power event the day before NADA in 2020, in March of 2020, if my memory serves. The average deal in the 16,558 dealerships in the United States was $2,200 and change, now nearly $5,300. So when you go to dealers saying, hey, we can actually make you more money, sometimes the skeptic comes in. So Fred, share some of the stats that you have and that you've quite frankly enlightened a lot of us as I've been literally walking in lockstep with you for the past several weeks on where crypto is, who has crypto, who is spending crypto, and then obviously the opportunity to spend it in our dealerships. And just so you know, we already have one question coming in from Dustin Snyder, which we'll get to in just a second. Dustin, thank you for that. If you have a question, I mentioned this in Clubhouse this morning, and questions were flying back and forth. Shout out to my friends at Modern Day Car Sales that we join every morning from 6:45 to roughly about 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Lots of questions. So type those questions in. Again, this will be reposted. If we don't get to your question, we will get you an answer. So again, kind of lay the lay of the land for us, Fred, if you don't mind.
Okay, thanks, Tim. And let me start by saying how excited we are to have a partnership with CarNow. And Tim, you're a hard guy to keep up with. The amount of energy you brought to this, I'm excited to partner with you. Our foundational premise here is the consumer gets to choose how they want to pay for these things. And if they want to use a different currency, as long as the terms of the deal are good, and especially if the dealership can make a little more money, everybody's going to accept it. The question that we always get is cryptocurrency mainstream? When's it going to be mainstream? Do I have to pay attention to this? Let me start with the stats. 94% of all crypto buyers are either Gen Z or they're millennials. Now, that's ages 18 to 40. Biggest wage earner base, fastest growing group of car buyers. 94% are not my generation. They're Gen Z or millennials. Half of millennials own cryptocurrency. A third of them have 3/4 of their wealth invested in crypto. More than half of them say they would like to make purchases using their cryptocurrency. And that makes logical sense as they store more and more wealth in a different form of currency, especially as they start making some money and they start feeling wealthier, they want to buy things with it. And I think super relevant, of all of the millennials that bought a house last year, 12% of them self-reported that they sold cryptocurrency to fund their down payment. So when I get asked, when's this going to be mainstream? The answer is it depends upon how old you are. If you're part of the greatest generation, probably not going to be. If you're a millennial or a Gen Z, it already is. And I want to echo, Tim, what you said earlier, which is, as we've gotten out and talked to dealerships, and the answers have varied a little bit, but we've uniformly found that a lot of executives and GMs in dealerships understand cryptocurrency personally. Many of them are invested in it. They heretofore haven't had an easy way to accept crypto in their day-to-day business of selling cars and making money for the dealership. But we've talked to a ton of dealers, and it's not, yes, a lot of high lines, but also every brand you can imagine who have said, we've been turning away people for a year and a half, 2 years. Thank goodness there's finally a solution for this. We don't like to walk customers from the showroom.
I even logged into my PayPal account yesterday. Had a issue with a vendor, and they took care of me. And I noticed that you can actually use crypto in PayPal, right? So what we're talking about here, so I would argue that it's not going to be mainstream if they can use it in PayPal. So I encourage all of you listening, log into your PayPal account, scroll down. I just did it yesterday, and you will see basically a PayPal converter. What we're talking about is adding a revenue stream in your dealership by taking large amounts of crypto. And I want to unpack a little bit of this as far as either down payment or loans against assets. So that being said, let's just start with probably the biggest question that I have received. How my organization here in Atlanta, one of the best family-owned organizations in automotive, the Hennessy Automotive Group. Shout out to the Hennessy's, have just done a phenomenal job through the years. But something that somebody I have a lot of respect for, Deborah Hayes, used to say, the CFO, Timmy, make sure always your foot is on a rock. So for that dealer principle, again, coming off of the best year probably in history, why should they look at this? But more importantly, how do they make sure that they are covered? How do they make sure that they are partnering with a rock solid company? I know you've partnered with many banks. And what happens to that currency? So how do we make sure our foot's on a rock, number one? And a two-part question, can we take Bitcoin, obviously is the big one, turn it into US dollars, for example, into a straight, we were asked that question this morning, and turn it into an ACH. Could you walk us through, number one, the security for the dealer? Let's make sure our foot's on a rock to where we prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Foot's on a rock. Number two, how do I get this crypto, and what are my options into either turning it into US currency, or just walk us through that, because that's the biggest question that I have been hit with over the last several weeks.
Okay. So let's start with who Cion Digital is. We are longtime payments, banking, lending, fintech folks. We've been doing this a long time. I've been doing payments, banking, lending, fintech for 30 years. Our backgrounds are pretty straightforward. We work for some of the very largest payment processors and lending processors in the industry. We come at this from the perspective that you need to be regulatorily compliant. You need to not take risks with things like tax reporting and having the right licenses and everything else. We really strive, we believe fundamentally that the things that were held up as the really cool things about crypto 10 years ago, you could buy things on the dark web and it was anonymous and undetectable, unreportable, untaxable. Those were never going to stand as characteristics when this became mainstream, like it is mainstream now. So we start from the perspective that everybody has to have the right licenses. We have to be regulatorily compliant. There's been a lot of questions over the last year. If I sell my crypto and I made money on it, do I really have to report the gain to the IRS? The answer is, of course, yes. Of course, we all know if you've got a capital gain, the government will want its portion of tax. And so everything we do is around making sure this is legal and this is compliant. It's also making sure that the dealership doesn't expose themselves to things that they don't want to. So we move them. Let's say you've got a customer that's making $1,000 down payment and they're funding it out of their Bitcoin account. Good example, 60% of the assets in digital coins are in Bitcoin alone. If you add ETH to that, it's over 80% just in the top two coins. There are tens of thousands of coins. The bottom 19,990 don't really matter. We're focused on the top 10 or 20 because that's where the money is. If you've got a customer that's making $1,000 down payment, we'll move the money with their authorization, with their full authorization and participation. We'll move the money from their account to the dealer's account, and we'll convert it unless the dealer asks us to do something different in US dollars. So the dealership's being paid in USD, just like everything else that you do today. The dealership's cash management folks can manage that money. If they want to leave money sitting in it, just like another bank account, another balance account, they can leave it sit there in USD. We can automatically trigger an ACH, send the payment to their core bank account. I've asked a couple of controllers and CFOs for a couple of large dealerships, when we're doing 1,000 cars a month this way, do you really want 1,000 random ACHs to come in that you've got to reconcile? The answer is generally no. We're pretty good at cash management. Leave it sit in our account, our crypto account, leave it sit in US dollars so I don't have an FX risk, and we'll move it just like we move money. One of the big surprises, I've probably had a half a dozen dealers personally say, I've been trying to figure out how I participate in crypto a little bit. If I chose, could I leave some of the balance in a cryptocurrency rather than in US dollars? The answer is yes. We can set that up. Your cash management people can do it. If you've got money in Bitcoin and you want to change it to Polkadot, you can do that. The dealer has full security of not having the exchange risk, or they have the ability to leave some money in the currency that they choose to.
You know, that really is, it's phenomenal because we now have a way, you know, that you have another revenue stream. So for example, let's talk about, you know, you talk about a perfect storm. We still have to do business, you know, and the Fed, obviously, to control inflation, just came out with a rate hike last week. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the market responded. Projected, whether it'll happen or not, 6 more rate hikes before the end of 2022. I was telling someone earlier, I think it was yesterday and today, I can remember about 15 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, if memory serves me well, you know, a 750 beacon on 72 months was 7.75 buy rate. You know, we are so used to these, you know, 3% mortgages, you know, 2.5% car loans, that now that it's inching up, you know, I want to talk about number one, and I do want to get to, you know, because there was a lot of questions that I've been asked as far as using the crypto as collateral towards the vehicle. I want to get to that in just a second because we were just asked that question. But explain the great part about that customer that has a thin file. In fact, my son, and it was probably 5 or 6 years ago, one of his friends, someone had passed in his family, and he took some money and he bought Bitcoin. And I don't even know what, somebody can do a quick Google search. I don't even know what Bitcoin was trading at 6 or 7 years ago, whenever that was. And he started buying Bitcoin, where that kid is now 21 years old and has a few $100,000 in Bitcoin, but he's never bought a car before. So, let's explain that scenario on being able to give that customer with a 650 or a 660 beacon score, because he has these assets in crypto. We could provide him a much cheaper rate than the bank. And then on top of that, again, this is all about allowing our dealers another revenue stream. So let's just unpack that particular scenario for us so we fully understand that, Fred.
So together we'll be able to deliver payments, and we'll be able to deliver lending offers through the CarNow customer experience. The example that you described is pretty perfect. You've got a millennial that's into crypto, who invested early, who's made some money, probably isn't super excited about banks, probably doesn't have a lot of credit bureau reporting financial relationships, walks into a dealership thinking they're going to get that 2.99% rate that they don't know enough to read the fine print on the bottom that says for our most qualified customers, and is really surprised at the rate offer they can get. If they will pledge some of that crypto asset that they've got to secure the loan, either partially or in full, the lender can offer them a lower rate. It can bring down the rate and the payment to something that they'll accept and get the deal done. Whether it's a payment or, I'm not going to go into the deep details of the economics of it here, but there's an opportunity for the dealer to make money on a payment. There's an opportunity for the dealer to make traditional spread on the lending capabilities. If you've got a customer, and this works, Tim and I talked to one of the biggest Ferrari dealers in the United States, and their average customers have a net worth of $20 million. They're probably more my Gen X than they are a Gen Z or a millennial. They're doing it for a different reason, but they can leverage their crypto to buy a Ferrari. Your 20-year-old who's got enough crypto can leverage it to buy a Honda Civic or a Honda Accord or anything they want at a rate that they will accept, and the deal gets done. In the intermediate term, when the more progressive dealers, the more aggressive dealers, the early adopters, if you're a Toyota dealership and you offer payment acceptance through crypto or lending against crypto, and you're advertising it so that people know you do, and the other Toyota dealer in town doesn't do it, you're going to take share, plain and simple. You'll protect some of the sales you're getting. You're going to get some new sales. There's some fees and some loan spread associated with it that increases profitability. It's really a win-win for everyone, and it starts with the consumer's chosen to put a bunch of their assets in this, and they want to spend it or they want to loan against it. And these are folks that are pretty accustomed to convenience fees. Their fees associated with buying and selling crypto, the deeper they are into it, the more they understand the fees. They're accustomed to it. But we're building this in such a way that it will let dealers protect the share they've got, win some new customers, incur some additional fee revenue, and or incur some additional loan spread revenue. It's a win-win.
So one of the most exciting, and thank you for that explanation, because, I had a bunch of questions myself as you continue to answer, because I think like a car guy or a car gal, well, I guess I don't think like a car. Anyway, I think like a car guy. I think like all of us, trying to cover everyone listening. But, the question is, and I think, historically we get a customer's credit. Okay. Most people do. They don't pay cash, depending on your PMA, obviously, but you get someone's credit and you send it, through Route 1 or Dealer Track to 3 or 4 different lenders. And then out comes, especially if they have a thin file, out comes different scenarios and requirements, steps per se, to get that deal done. You know, I heard you say that what you are creating, and by the way, we are building this and we are learning together. As we always say, you know, let's get better together. You are literally the lending tree. And I want you to unpack that a little bit. So people have, I want to, maybe somebody will have questions after this, but man, I want to unpack all the dirty laundry so we can clean it. So we're like, wow, I have a fresh new concept of crypto, and I'm pretty fired up about this. But you are literally creating at Cion the lending tree per se of crypto. So you have the ability, you have already partnered with multiple different banks. I know you mentioned Salt. If anyone wants to Google Salt and then add crypto, you'll get an idea. But can you maybe unpack that a little bit? Because that's exactly what you're creating. You're creating the lending tree of crypto, therefore to push that back to the dealer and say, here's your options of this particular customer.
So first, folks, you heard it here. There'll be a new YouTube channel called Dirty Laundry with Tim and Fred. We'll have it up by Monday.
Yeah, that's good.
We're not going to cover any of our dirty laundry, but it'll be a hoot. I promise.
I meant all the questions. I meant all the questions. Sometimes, you know, we're both from Kentucky, ladies and gentlemen. So just bear with us a little bit. Bear with us a little bit. Just tobacco farmers from Kentucky. So just bear with us just a little bit, even though Big Blue did fail us a week ago. So we're not going to talk about that. But unpack that for me, brother.
Let's talk about lending. So there are so many different ways that lending, this will transform traditional auto finance lending. In many cases, it supplements it. In some cases, this will be a new loan source that the dealership can offer. That's powered greatly by crypto. In other cases, it will be bringing cryptocurrency to bear on a traditional auto finance loan to bring down the expected credit losses and bring down the rate. One scenario, your 20-year-old son's friend who walks in wanting that Honda doesn't like the rate he's offered because he's got a thin file. He could put $50,000 worth of crypto as a pledge to secure his $35,000 Honda if he wants to. There are a lot of advantages to it. Number one, he doesn't sell, so he's not going to have to pay the capital gain. Super important. If he sells it, he's going to get a capital gain one way or the other. Number two, he gets the crypto back at the end of the loan, so he's preserved the upside. The folks that are very committed to cryptocurrency believe that long-term it will only go one direction, is up. So the notion of selling your crypto asset to buy a depreciating asset is not something most of them are interested. If they can use it to get a better finance rate, they're going to do it. They could pledge enough crypto to buy the car in full, borrow against somebody like Salt Lending. If you want to look at it there, a crypto lending company in our lending marketplace. You can learn a lot about it. There are also other lenders. There are blockchain powered liquidity pools that operate using artificial intelligence that actually loan real money against real crypto and real cars. There's a scenario where your son's friend says, I'm not going to put $50,000 down to buy a $35,000 car, but I will pledge $10,000 in partial security. And we do a traditional auto finance loan from one of the dealership's other lenders for the rest of it, and they get a better rate. We're working on a scenario that our marketing folks call Buy Now, Pay Never, which is a millennial walks into a Lamborghini dealership and has enough crypto that they can secure it and drive the Lambo away, and the loan will actually debit a little bit of interest every month against the anticipated gains on the crypto, and they don't make a payment. So many different permutations and combinations of how this is going to evolve. Most of them are a supplement to traditional finance. In some cases, it's an alternative to it.
You know, let me ask because we were asked this morning. Let's just say, you know, Bitcoin took a big hit a little while back, went down to 35,000 or 36,000. Obviously it was up as I think high as 60. Now it's at 40. So my question is, and this was the question presented today in the room, and I wanted you to answer, what happens to that customer that, again, thin file customer probably wants to take advantage of a decent rate, takes 50,000 of his crypto on a $30,000 car, and look, you plan for the worst, you hope for the best, and for whatever reason, although I don't foresee it with rates and the world economy and everything going on now, but Bitcoin, whatever coin they're using, takes a dump. And now it's no longer worth 50 against that $30,000 car. Now it's worth 25. Again, whatever it is. What happens to that loan then? And kind of walk us through that process. I want to unpack kind of every angle of what actually could happen, if you don't mind.
Okay. So the lender's terms and conditions are really clear and fully disclosed to the borrower. There are all kinds of processes and notifications and curbs and opportunities. We would never recommend that somebody pledge every single bit of an asset that they've got against a vehicle. Typically, they're going to have more assets. If it drops, they'll get a notification that your loan to underlying collateral value is dropping. They will have known, and it'll be communicated. You were at 100%, now you're at 80%. If you get 75%, we're going to start thinking about doing something. Would you like to top up? Would you like to put a little cash into it? Would you like to put a little more crypto into it, etc.? Worst case scenario, if they go below the trigger point where some of it needs to be liquidated, the lender will liquidate just enough to bring the loan back into balance. This works exactly the same as a margin loan on your brokerage account, as a home equity line of credit loan. Banks have done this for 100 years. You can walk into a bank and you can pledge your CD against buying a car. It's just not automated. You can't do it sitting in the F&I manager's side chair. Cryptocurrency, which is cloud-based, digital, globally real-time, you can secure the asset in a couple of minutes while they never leave the chair. But there will be full notification. There'll be plenty of opportunities to make it right. The consumer gets to choose. If the customer at the end of the day chooses not to do anything, then the same thing will happen as if you had a margin account and stocks dropped, and they'll know that up front.
That's great information, and we're having some. I want to get to these questions as we have questions. One, let's see here. Yeah. Oh, they just came through. First of all, looking forward to, let's see who said this. I'm trying to look for the name. Yeah, Dustin Snyder. He says, I'm really looking forward to hearing more instant funding, T&L processes. So much opportunity ahead. Thank you for that comment.
Thanks, Dustin.
And thank you, Brian Toole, who I see. Brian's a dear friend. He looked up Bitcoin was actually $413 6 years ago when my kids friend jumped in. Wow. Yeah, I wish,
I wish I was as smart as your 20.
I wish I was as smart as my friend when I was like, he did what? David Nelson, he said, so it's a bank-backed line of credit. It's a bank-backed line of credit. I think you answered that unless you want to answer.
I'll comment for a second. So
yeah,
it will depend upon which combination of lending it is. But yes, we absolutely, I can't say who, but we're in a conversation with a top 5 bank that does a lot of auto finance lending, and another top 15 bank that does a lot of auto finance lending, about how we marry crypto as a digital real-time securable asset with their traditional automotive lending. They'd still hold the auto title. And then there are scenarios where it's a non-bank, non-traditional, more crypto ecosystem lender. They work exactly the same way.
No, that's phenomenal. And then this is very interesting, and this is quite frankly, this is another great question for David as well, that I thought, and quite frankly, I ADD'd out and forgot to ask you. But he says, David Nelson, thank you for the great question again. Do different cryptos have different amounts of credit percentages? So do different cryptos have different amounts of credit percentages?
So David's got two great questions. He probably should win a caricature of Tim.
Yeah, we're gonna have yeah.
Um,
My team has fun with these, by the way, every year at our annual meeting. So yeah,
David, the answer is yes. It's a great question. The answer is yes. Different coins have different volatility, so the required collateral to loan percentage is going to vary. Bitcoin's a lot bigger and a lot more stable than some of these smaller coins. I mentioned earlier, 90% of the about $2 trillion in spendable value is in the top 10 coins, more than 90% in the top 20 coins. We don't focus on the rest of them, but even within the top 10 and the top 20, they have different volatility characteristics. And so the lenders are very smart, and they have all of this modeled in their risk model. And if you're using Polkadot, you might have to put a larger percentage down than if you're using ETH or Bitcoin. Yes.
You know, that is amazing. And as we start to land the plane, I just want everybody to know, if you have any other questions, and again, the majority, excuse me, as I lose my voice, the majority of the viewers will be as you guys repost this, because again, the questions that have been coming in even to our office, the excitement, quite frankly, the uncertainty about, you know, some major dealer groups are saying, yeah, a lot of these, yeah, but first of all, I want to thank Fred again. We've gotten to know each other pretty well.
Yep.
As our job truly is to serve our dealers. And just so you know, again, I just want to reiterate, guys, TimTalks is not about CarNow. Obviously, we'd love the privilege to partner with you. And quite frankly, we're going to provide a link as we shoot this out on our social media and other social medias. We'll give it to Fred as well. That's going to have a link. So if you want to find out more information, or you just want to get on and sign up, and you want your dealership to get on the train, and listen, you don't have to. So for example, the HELOC lending, as Fred was talking about, won't even be available until Q2. If you just want your dealership to be able to accept it as a down payment, look, it's your dealership. You can do whatever you want. So whether you are a CarNow customer or not, you can sign up. We will provide the link there in all our social media posts, so you can get either information. So if you want to click sign up, say I want more information, or I have a question for Fred, or Tim, those are stupid caricatures behind you. Whatever you want to do, we're going to provide that link for you. I would argue, you know, it's almost like having a broken arm. You have a broken arm and you look down and you notice everybody with a broken arm. Since we've been talking about this, you know, me seeing it, and literally yesterday for the first time, as I was scrolling to see if this merchant had refunded my funds, I saw the crypto guy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's here. We can stick our head in the sand. We can act like it's not going away. But my final thought is, it's not going to take too long. And maybe I'm making so much money, it doesn't matter anyway. When some customer, and starts with 1, then it's 2, then it's 3, walks into your dealership from ABC Toyota and says, hey, I've got X amount of crypto. Can you take it as a down payment? Because your competitor down the street is.
That's right.
It won't take very long for this to spread. I really believe, based on the media attention, guys, we have never seen anything like this. People calling, wanting interviews. You know, Fred and I are just old country boys from Kentucky, and we're getting pulled in a bunch of different directions because people want to know, like the old E.F. Hutton. So just overwhelmed, and we are here to serve you. And I think the thing that I'm most encouraged is that this is absolutely secure for your dealership. And as old Mr. Devers Hayes used to say, your foot will be on a rock. Any final thoughts, Fred, as we land this plane?
Last comment. Our goal here is to keep dealers growing, profitable, relevant, expanding your share. There have been a lot of non-traditional entities come into this industry that have embraced different models and embraced different technologies. I can almost guarantee you that those big brands, non-traditional, that we all pay attention to, are working on plans to accept cryptocurrency. Our goal in this partnership and to serve the dealers that are partnered up with CarNow is to help you remain responsive to your buyers, to your customers, let them pay in a manner that they want to, or let them borrow in a manner that they want to, that helps the dealership maintain and even expand profits. We're very dealer focused in how we approach this.
Fred, thank you so much for your time. As always, guys, that will wrap up another edition of Tim Talks. Please stay tuned for next week as we talk to the one and only Jim Fitzpatrick, founder and CEO of CBT News. I had the privilege to be on set at CBT News a couple weeks, actually the week before NADA. And I was looking across and I'm like, you know what? I want to know your story. So we're going to get a download from Jim Fitzpatrick next week on what his big takeaways were from NADA, and B, find out Jim Fitzpatrick's story as he has built just such an incredible company as he continues to bring us ideas to get better. Listen, this is Tim Cox along with Fred Brothers, and we are going to say it. I'll say it 1,000 times before the end of the year. No one is smarter than everyone. And ladies and gentlemen, let's just continue to get better together. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.